Hälsohaller, Folkak, Freunde Min, Dr. Casper Rodinson Kroll on vacation here in Alabama. I didn't want you all to think I forgot about you. I told you I'd be back and on a more regular basis. I intend to do that, especially when I get home. Still tell myself it's hard to believe that I'm out here 14 months, nearly 14 months later. I'm sitting here looking at a beautiful view, magnolias and crepe myrtles. And, this is beautiful and wonderful. Smoking a nice Monte Cristo cigar. Nice cup of Death Wish espresso. Dark roast coffee. And while that's fine and well, what I'd really like to say to you is if you woke up clean and sober today, it's another day where you're winning. It's another day where you're in command of your life. You are in command of your faculties. That dragon, or that bitch, or whatever it is that's hanging on your back, that monkey, it doesn't control you today because you woke up clean and sober and you choose to stay clean and sober. You'll fight for that for the day. That's all that matters is today. Yesterday belongs to the Norns and the gods, and today belongs to us. Tomorrow belongs to nobody. So you're clean today, you're sober today, you got your get right today, and you're winning. You're winning the fight. You're winning the fight. I had a little PTSD nightmare the other night myself. For those of you who've been to prison, you know about transpacking to leave one institution for another. And you either send a bunch of your property home or a good amount of it ends up on the R&R floor, and then sitting there the next day or two with nothing in your cell basically except for what your cellie might have for you if you're lucky enough to have a cellie, and getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and hustle down to R&R, sit in a holding cell with a bunch of other guys waiting to get on a bus destined for wherever, Pelican Bay, High Desert, whatever the place may be, Corcoran. It's just another thing you do, another day in life in prison. But now that I've been out here for almost 14 months, a lot of this stuff is coming home to roost as like PTSD type of things, little flashbacks and stuff, things that kind of set me off tilt a little bit. Well, the humidity down here is like crazy. Hard to keep a cigar lit. Really don't even need a humidor down here, though I brought one. So, it's all the little things that you forget about when you get out and you're drunk on freedom, high and intoxicated on renewed liberty. I mean, there's so many fucking choices. Go to buy a bottle of shampoo or body wash or toothpaste or something. It's like fucking, there's like a fucking 100 choices to make here. It's like, in prison you got like 2 choices, 3 choices at best, You're ordering a package from a catalog, you got maybe 10 choices. And that's another thing. Over decades on the inside, you get used to making things a certain way. I swore I'd never eat a ramen soup again if I got out, or a bologna sandwich or shit like that. But I do. And the damn shame of it all is I can't find any like quick rice or dehydrated beans to throw in there. I mean, you can't find any of that keefy shit anywhere. It's just every spoonful of something like that. Every spoonful of something like that reminds you of the people you love that you left behind, the people you care about, that you hope will get out one day too, that have changed the way they think and have eschewed criminal thinking. They're still stuck in that stasis of hell, a world of just non-movement. But for that transpacking, that's movement on a whole different level. I'm sure it's the same in every state, and I know it is in the BOP and stuff, federal prison system. But if a guy's done time in California, especially if they were getting transferred from one end of the state to the other, or somewhere from the end to the middle, or the middle to the top or the bottom. I mean, just that's a long bus ride. I'll tell you, it's a long bus ride from Chino or Tehachapi to Pelican Bay. It's even longer if you're coming from like Donovan or someplace like that. But there's a lot of good things out here, a lot of wondrous things, and yet there's a lot of frustrations and aggravations, and a lot of things that make you want to just proverbially pull your hair out of your head. And I deal with it. What I'm getting at is that we all have these triggers that set us off and make us want to use, drink, do the things that we do, whatever that might be. And it's how you deal with the triggers. Because I've always said, I've always posited that using, getting loaded, planning your next big caper, those are all thinking issues. They're not addictive behavior as we've been led to believe per se. They're thinking problems. They're cognizant issues that we sit there and allow to become habitual in our life through that behavior, and then it becomes second nature. And trying to unravel that is also a process of espousing some kind of good character traits and good characteristics now, and habits, and making them habits, making them a cognizant behavioral action in your life. We think, we act, and in doing so, we make choices. Now, I don't want to confuse the issue when I say I don't believe in addiction or that it's real. It's very real. But it's a byproduct of our environment be our associations and see the body's acclimation and dependence on the chemical and molecular changes in our body when we're using so long or drinking so long and try to quit. I struggle like everybody else does with issues that are triggers and set you off. But I've been clean for so long now, I don't even entertain the thoughts. It never occurs to me to find comfort in a spoon or up my nose, any of that ever again. I mean, I'm working on 30 years here, and I know it's not like this for everybody. But other than the first couple of months, I never really looked back. I regained command of my faculties and control of my decisions and choices, cognizantly aware of my surroundings and what I'm doing and the consequences associated therewith. And it was never a second thought for me to go back and say, hey, you know what, I want to do this again. And I could never understand somebody who kicked and got clean from heroin, going through all that, and then deciding, hey, I want to be sick again, just for a little head change, and I'm willing to go through all that all over again. I could never understand that. You know, I've done it a couple times, you know, back in the day, but being clean for so long, I can't imagine that at all. I just can't imagine, you know, what would possess somebody in their thought process, you know, sorting through their thoughts. Hey, it seems like a good idea today to get loaded for a few hours and then pay for it for the next fucking several years. Or pay for it permanently with all this fentanyl that's lacing everything out there now. You know, I've had people that I know out here since I've been out 14 months, actually about half a dozen of them whose trip left them cold. You know, their final destination was a stainless steel table with some scales at the end of it and a sink in the county coroner's office. I assure you, knowing these people, their intention was not to have that be their last day on earth. But that's what you're dealing with out there. And you kids, you got to remember, it's not just because I don't do dope or this or that. I'm just doing a little upper to get me through swim practice or football practice, or I'm just trying to lose a little weight or whatever. Those pills you get online aren't always what they profess to be. In fact, more often than not, they're not what they are. There's so much crap in them, just like there's so much crap in so many supplements. But the biggest crap is things that are laced or even manufactured solely of fentanyl. You know, I am of the mind that fentanyl production and introduction into our country here, I'll just speak for Vinland, for North America, it's an attack. It's a terrorist attack on our children, our addicts, citizens that are mired down with some kind of pernicious behavior, addiction. These people that produce this shit ought to be fucking rounded up and executed, as far as I'm concerned. You know, I mean, why waste the taxpayers' money? Why waste filling up prison cells and jail cells? I mean, this is just, it's outrageous, you know. You know, when you're handling this stuff, that somebody's going to use it and die. You know this. You know this up front. It's premeditated murder. It's no different than me saying, hey, you know what? I'm working for so-and-so, you know, over here in fucking New York or wherever, and fucking the job is to go fix a problem permanently, you know? Those are premeditated acts, the likes of which I will never, ever, ever in my life ever be enslaved to ever again. The only way I'm going to raise my hand in violence to anybody is if they put their hands on me first, or I perceive a legitimate physical threat, or they telegraph it, or somebody threatens me or my family. That's the only way. Other than that, I don't ever want to ever be involved with a life of violence again. But I digress. Back to the fentanyl. You're handling this stuff. You're packaging it. You're producing it. You're sending it to the states. Your intention is to make money and profit off of somebody's death, off a lot of somebody's deaths. And if they get lucky and don't die, good for them, But you don't give a fuck about that. You're sitting there introducing this shit with the knowledge that it's going to kill. It's premeditated murder, all the way from China, where the chemicals and the products are manufactured, if it's not altogether manufactured there, which, by the way, our government does business with. We won't do business. I can't get a good cigar from Cuba. God's forbid we boycott little old Cuba because they stood up to us, calling them a communist country still. That's the impetus for why we don't deal with Cuba, because they're communist. Bullshit. We made our farmers in the 80s and 90s have fallow fields so we could produce business and buy our grains from the Soviet Union, which was communist to the hilt, our enemy, our avowed enemy. And just like now, we buy products from China. We import so much crap from China. China owns more of America in debt than any other nation. So, our government's complicit in all this fentanyl crap. These politicians get on the soapbox, they get up there at the day, so they talk about how we need to do this, need to do that, and the war on drugs, and drugs are, it's all hyperbole. It's all bullshit. You're all frauds, you're all liars, you're all full of shit. You're like dirty diapers, you're full of shit, and you need changing often, because that's the reality here. The reality is, anybody who knows the process and is involved in it, they ought to be marched out to the town square and, don't even waste a bullet. Put a noose around their neck and, or better yet, I got a great idea. Bury them up to their heads, to where their heads are exposed, like a bunch of little turf, and then just take a blade on a big old, earth mover and just, in one fell swoop, go ahead and cut all their heads off. And then leave them rotting in that field with the crows and the ravens and the other things to eat, as a warning to anybody else. If you poison our citizens, you kill our people, this is your fate. And you postulates in Washington, D.C., those of you that are watching me, if you're an honest politician trying to do something right, good, get together with others. There's not many of you, I can guarantee that. But I'll tell you what, those of you that are complicit in this and still doing business with China and putting up a fuss when people try to put tariffs on China, that hey, you're just as guilty as the people selling this shit right here, bringing it across the border, starting in China, coming through Central America, South America, up to the Mexican border. And that's another thing. Everybody talks about, hey, let's close the border, we'll stop all these drugs and all these illegal arms and shit. Hey, the northern border is a sieve in Michigan, let me tell you. So, enough with the hypocrisy. And I'm going to get off the soapbox, because that's not what I'm all about here with this. What I'm about here is trying to encourage you to have a clean and sober day, to have a day free in society, to have a day where you have command of your faculties, where you're a winner to your family, where you're somebody who matters to your family and your loved ones and your friends, because you're indispensable, because you're responsible. You're a responsible individual. I'll tell you something. First time one of my neighbors, and there's been 3 of them now, but the first time one of my neighbors asked me to watch their house, that was a feeling that I just cannot describe. The trust, the respect, the dependence that I will do right by them. Earning that confidence and that trust, it meant everything to me. What a completely different feeling that is from somebody fearing you and, changing the other side of the street when they see you coming, or locking their door when they see you on the street, or they hear your Harley fire up and